nutrition, health, sufficiency, clean energy, environment, infrastructure, and even technology. There are not many of our S&T, personnel are competent enough, to actually contribute towards solving the problem of this, particular, sectors. Next slide, please. So what do we need to do? I think it's a good idea to open up foreign HEIs in the country. This is what I probably call as a catch-up strategy. If we do the business as usual at the moment, our capacity to train our own PhDs in this country is very, very low. We will not be able to do it. We will not be able to catch up with, our population is growing at a much faster rate than at the rate we are actually producing our S&T, human capital. So in other words, so the foreign HEIs will actually accelerate the opportunity to train and capacitate our S&T human resource. And if that happens, you can see that, it will be now more balanced, so we can put the industry up and hopefully, deliver, the wealth that is needed by this country.
With your permission,
yes,
Dr.
Senator.
Culaba, who are the producers of the PhDs? Is it the state colleges or is it the private institutions?
Both.
Right now.
Well,
So when we say we are lagging behind, both the private and the public are lagging behind.
yes.
Okay.
It's a mandate of, a higher education institution is a trifocal function. So research is already, what, of course, our core function is to teach. So if we need to strengthen our industry, then and sustain innovation, we need to have highly capable S&T people. So because the objective there is to develop technology. We cannot just make a user of technology. We have to develop technology, and the development technology and innovation arise from a strong research and development activities. But certainly there are many challenges to this, which I have actually indicated in this chat. But on the right side, if you look at the other post, there is this red, space there, which are actually the challenges that we need to address. I think it was actually mentioned already many times by our colleagues and resource persons today and the last public hearing. There are still many restrictions if a foreign institution would be operating in the country, and that has to be addressed as well. Next slide, please. So this is hopefully what will come out, an innovation ecosystem. An innovation ecosystem is actually a diverse participants from all sectors of the economy. Next slide, please. And hopefully with a robust innovation ecosystem, we can now translate our investment in science, technology, and engineering to economic growth and national competitiveness. And next slide. Currently, what's happening is many of our talents are going out. And do you want to continue this? Okay, so we have to take care and capitalize on the talents that we have, in the country. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. And finally, amending the Constitution on Article 4, personally, is necessary to create wealth. My answer is yes. Thank you.
I noticed that slide has the biggest font. Yun yung pinaka-importante. Thank you, Dr. Culaba. Can we hear from, since you brought up that whole academe thing, maybe we should also consult the people at UP and TUP. So Technological University of the Philippines, Attorney Christopher Mortel. Attorney, go ahead.
Mr. Presiding Chairman and the honorable members of the committee. fellow workers in the government. Good morning. Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, and it has already been discussed by several resource persons, the Technological University of the Philippines joined the position of the Commissioner on Higher Education in supporting the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
But maybe you could share a little bit. What is the status now of TUP? What is your mandate when it comes to higher education and innovation? And how are you performing it, how will opening up the education to foreign-owned institutions improve our innovation ecosystem? Of course, nabanggit na rin ng iba, no? But from your standpoint, sir.
From the university's standpoint, and to bring context, basically the mandate of the university is to provide education, particularly in engineering and technology education, and bringing in foreign institution or liberalizing the higher education institution in the Philippines will also support in the effort of the government to, or in support of the internationalization effort of the university, as well as with regard to upskilling the faculty of the university, Mr. Chair.
Okay. UP, can we hear from Dr. Menchit Padilla? Ma'am.
Good morning to Mr. Chair and the members of the committee. I actually am here to represent researchers and scientists, but allow me to just say at the outset that any amendment that will help research and development growth in the country is going to be welcome. But let me make this a couple of points. Well, number one, in the issue of internationalization, there are many ways. Partnership is part of the life of UPs. I'm actually a retired professor of the university, and partnerships, we have survived just on the area of partnerships in the field of medicine, even before, even without, with formal, informal engagements. We have collaborated with universities in the US, Europe, Asia, and without any of these universities wanting to have any investment in our university. But they want to partner in terms of production of new ideas. So maybe I will just limit it to the field of health. So if I may just bring in home a point that um, there is another way of solving the issues at hand. Number one, in UP Manila, we have actually been able to push the issue of new knowledge and productivity. But let me explain to you now that even if we were able to produce a lot of products, there is a gap in our system because we are not able to scale up our products, and our researchers will have to bring it overseas and then bring it back to the Philippines at a higher cost. So if you're looking now at investment and business to the country, we actually have another formula. So maybe I'd like to share this now that, as a research university, we are expected to produce the products for the country to solve the problems. And we have identified another solution. So we have the products now. We'd like to set up a science and technology park to actually scale up our products that we have developed in the country. So that will bring in foreign investment because they will be locators who can actually bring in talent and expertise to help our students and at the same time keep them. So maybe I'll wear another hat at this point. I actually chair a committee that is setting up the science and technology park for UP Manila at the new Clark City. What we realized during the COVID pandemic is that even if we produced a lot of products, there was nothing in the country that can scale them up. And when we ran out of the parts, nobody would give them to the Philippines because they had their own problems. So with a very tight schedule at the moment, UP Manila is setting up a science and technology park specifically for health so that we can scale up at least 26 local products that we have on hand. And we have 13 biomedical devices that we can produce for our country. So that actually brings in um, low cost uh, products and the biomedical devices for use of the health sector. Now, where does the government come in? Okay, because now we're working very hard. Well, we've been supported by the Department of Science and Technology for products for TRL. TRL is a technology readiness level from 1 to 4. We are working with the DTI at the moment to help us scale this up. And now we're working with government like Department of Health to buy to the product. So if we talk about what will bring the business to the country, it's not just foreign investment to the university, but actually helping the university produce the products and then scale them up. Now, the ladder presented by academician Kulaba shows the labor intensive and the innovation on the top of the ladder. We want to go up the ladder. So what I'm saying now is that the universities are actually producing innovations. But to be able to do that, we need support from government. We need foreign investment. So right now, as we build the Science and Technology Park in New Clark City for the health sector, we are talking to foreign investors and local investors. It will bring in jobs. It will bring in the talent who can help in the universities. So in the spirit of internationalization, I just want to share with UP, of course, with Chancellor Camacho, that partnerships is one way of internationalization. But the liberalization that we are appealing for is to allow us to hire foreign faculty, because in our current state right now, we are not allowed to hire foreign faculty. They can only be lecturers. I think that can improve the if we can do that, then I think it can bring more people here. So liberalization means not only bringing in investment to the university, but actually bringing in the talent and hiring them formally. This has been done by many countries in the region. And I know for a fact that many countries like Singapore, they brought in talent from abroad to be able to scale up their capacity with an exit strategy of at least a decade. So in the spirit of investment, we urge the government to fund our local researchers. Um, the investment comes in many ways. Education is one, but to become a research university, you must be producing the products. So that will mean investment from government. If you want to scale up now for the products, then we appeal to government to support the Science and Technology Park so that we create jobs in the Philippines, bring foreign talent, and at the same time bring business. So at the moment, in the development of the Science and Technology
With your
Park-
permission, I
Yes.
think you raised a very important point, the hiring of foreign personnel, because that's a different provision of the Constitution. And in that provision, there is already a proviso or an exception, meaning, if I may read, this is Article 12, Section 14, the second paragraph. The practice of all professions in the Philippines shall be limited to Filipino citizens, save in cases provided by law. So I think mas swak yun dun sa provision na ito kaysa dun sa pinag-uusapan sa resolution number 6. Tama ba yun, Dr. Padilla? Is that what's preventing you from, because there is no enabling law?
Yes, because in UP, I'll just speak for UP.
Well, we'll consult
okay.
Attorney Natura and the other lawyers, Attorney Estrada, Dr. De Vera also on this. But please, go ahead if you have
We
to.
can only hire them as lecturers. We cannot hire them as professors. So if you want to get talent from another university, they do not.
And what is the difference? Could you just specify for those who are not knowledgeable about the world of academe? What is the, yeah.
If you wanted to hire a professor, then you bring them to come in with all the perks of the position. They become a regular faculty member of the university.
And
So-
with research, with respect to research, what is the difference?
Well, we do have research professors now in the university. It's really the same. That's just one position at the moment. They can be hired as lecturers. That's one. They can be not at the level, because if we're talking about tertiary education of hiring additional talent, that will be the entry point wherein we will be allowed to hire foreign faculty as part of our regular faculty. For the science and technology part, I don't think that will be an issue because the goal is to bring in foreign talent really from local and international already at the moment. But for tertiary education, we will need the guidelines for that to allow us to hire them as regular faculty.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'll still give you time afterwards, but I just want to this point, Dr. Jevara, yes, you're raising your hand, and then I'll ask the two lawyers here.
Yeah, a quick intervention, Mr. Chair. I'd like to inform the committee that even if you teach in a state university or college, dual citizenship is not allowed. The civil service requires that you have to give up your citizenship to be able to teach in and be appointed in a state university or college. It's really interesting because we encourage them to come back here, but we don't allow them to teach.
That's a very interesting ano, no? Maybe I think we should consult the Civil Service Commission on that policy. Is that it's a long-standing policy, Dr. Rivera?
A
Matagal na po.
2016 circular by the Memorandum Circular of the Civil Service Commission,
Right,
MC number
right.
23 series of 2016.
So yeah, I understand the spirit of this law, no? But maybe medyo baka maiwan tayo dito sa ganitong klaseng pag-iisip, no? So can I get the thoughts of Yes, sir, Senator
You know,
Benitez.
Mr. Chairman, what is the spirit? Kasi Filipino din yun.
Yun nga. I
So
think
what
the
is the
spirit
spirit?
is to ensure allegiance only to one country. So, but that's that kind of thinking. I think is product of a more outdated world or a different world. Maybe not to prejudge it, but it's the product of a different world. A world where nationality was very important, and maybe we fought wars by firing guns, and which is still being done in Ukraine and other things. But of course, the world has changed in many respects, Mr. President, and there is a much benefit to be taken from migration, for instance, as shown by when Einstein migrated to the U.S. among other things, and there was a lot of knowledge sharing there. Just to give an example, no. So yes, go ahead,
Siguro
Senator.
just to emphasize that a Filipino who is a dual citizen is, from the point of view of Philippine law, a full Filipino. Tandaan natin yun. Talagang full Filipino.
I think yun ang sinasabi nga ni Dr. Vera.
Yeah.
Bakit natin pinayagang maging Pilipino, and yet parang hindi natin binigay ng buo sa kanya, di ba? Binigay natin sa kanya, pero for what, di ba? For maybe so he can own land, he can do other things. But di na natin binuo na it works to our detriment pa, di ba? Yun, I think that's
Tapos
his point.
meron
Tama ba?
pa tayong balik scientist program na most likely, kunyari, naka 10 to 20 years na sa ibang bansa yun, baka dual citizen na. Bumalik siya rito, tapos hindi siya pwede magturo. That's
Yeah,
it.
very good
Chair,
example.
Chair,
In fact, yes, I'll recognize Senator De La Rosa after Senator
Hindi
Pimentel.
siya pwede magturo.
He cannot be appointed to a plantilla position in state.
Hindi
He will be required to give up his other citizenship. That's the rule of the Civil Service Commission.
Hindi naman kasal yan di ba? Parang hindi naman pwedeng dapat isa lang, di ba? I think in the world of academia, are we in agreement that in fact these multiple connections or engagements are beneficial rather than detrimental? Tama ho ba? Ayun. So that's established, no? So then we'll ask Attorney Nachura and Attorney Estrada on their views on this. And that mas maganda na nabanggit yan because these are the implementing laws of our constitutional provisions that can actually defeat the intent or maybe improve the intent of the Constitution, as the case may be. Attorney Nachura, yes.
Good morning. Morning, Mr. Chair. Morning, honorable senators. Again, thank you for the invitation to give my personal insights on the proceedings now, no? Specifically on the matter at hand on the revision of paragraph 2 of section 4 of Article 14. Okay. Again, I have to make a disclaimer. I'm appearing here as just to give my personal insights. I'm not appearing here on behalf of the firm. Okay. Just to make it quick, I saw that based on the resolution of both houses, the proposed revision of section 4. The insertion of the word basic in educational institutions. I understand from the Honorable Chair that the intention really is to limit intention is not to open basic educational institutions to foreign ownership. No? So in which case the flip side of it, I think, is the intention is really to open up the higher educational institutions to foreign ownership. No? So with that, I guess there is just a need to clarify also what would be the scope of the residual power of Congress in the second sentence in requiring the increase of Filipino equity ownership, because as of this point, at least from the draft, the power is still to be exercised on all educational institutions. Same with the third provision. Same with the third sentence, where the phrase "unless otherwise provided by law" was inserted. Again, there may also be a need just to clarify the scope of the power of Congress in ensuring at what or to what particular institutions or educational institutions that control and administration should be reserved to Filipino citizens. Okay. I guess this is also a good opportunity to also consider the other related provisions in the Constitution that may have an effect, that may be affected by the revision of the amendment of Section 4. In particular, we note that at least from the text of the resolution, the third paragraph of the original Section 4 was no longer included insofar as the limitation on the alien students. So if the intention really is to if again we must also clarify whether the intention really is to remove the entirety of the provision or to retain it and with certain modifications also that may be consistent already with the proposals. Other provisions that may also need to be examined will be Section 3 of the same article, insofar as the requirement of the Constitution to teach the Philippine Constitution in all educational institutions, as well as the paragraph 2, which imposes the duty on these educational institutions to instill patriotism, the value of nationalism, foster love. So those, I think, may also need to be examined as and when the provisions are being implemented, are to be further discussed. And in relation to that, since this is also a duty being imposed on the at least for paragraph 2, Section 3, is also a duty being imposed on educational institutions. I think at least there is also a need to consider also what is the constitutionally recognized academic freedom of higher educational institutions on the possibility of Congress or the law implementing or imposing duties on these educational institutions on what can be covered or what should be included as part of their duties. Okay. Having said those points, based on what I've heard this morning, as well as from what I've read based on the discussions during the first hearing, I do believe that again this is an opportune time to get to find the right balance, on trying to ensure that the Filipino interests and the Filipino values are instilled continuously to be instilled in our students, and of course to achieve what I see as the laudable objective of trying to open up educational institutions, which in the whereas clause of the resolution is to give access to the best educational institutions of both foreign and Filipino students.
Thank you, Attorney
Thank you.
Chur. Before I go to Attorney Estrada, I apologize to Senator Bato because I promised to recognize him earlier. He was going to make a point. Pasensya na po. I hope you did not lose your train of thought, sir.
Mr. Chair, comment ko lang doon sa sinabi ni Chairman Popoy de Vera kanina, yung dual citizens na cannot cannot practice their profession here in the Philippines. Para rin yang si Justin Brownlee ba? Binigyan natin ng ginawa nating naturalized citizen, tapos hindi pa rin makapaglaro sa PPA as a Filipino, but as an import. Parang ganun pa rin yun. Mga kuan sa batas ba, mga unfairness sa batas. Yun lang, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, in the case of
Yeah.
Justin
Minority Leader.
Brownlee, dito po sa interpellations dito, klinaro natin. Kasi precisely yun ang dala natin point of view eh. Once you are declared a Filipino, naturalized as a Filipino, you should be treated like a Filipino. Yun ang sabi na, nag-warning pa nga tayo rito na if he's not treated like a Filipino, baka yung mga anti-discrimination laws meron pang nababiolate doon. Yeah, I think we made that very clear here. But of course, it really now depends on the aggrieved or the affected person if he wants to assert his rights. Pero yan po ang ating interpretation po dito po sa Senado when we granted the citizenship.
And Mr. Chair, I even asked him, pag magkagira tayo sa China, are you willing to fight with the Philippine Army? Are you willing to fight under the Philippine flag? Umuo siya. Di ba? So unfair naman. Makipagbarilan siya sa mga kalaban ng Estado, tapos hindi natin siya papalaruin as a Filipino doon sa PBA. Yun lang. That's beside the point, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the
That's beside the point.
analogy,
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
De Rosa and Senator Pimentel. Tama, ba't di na lang natin ibuo? Of course, we can ask them to explain the policy and how it can be improved or made more favorable to the state and the people. Attorney Estrada. Yes.
Thank you po, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Just very quickly lang po on that point raised by Senator De La Rosa and Chairman Popoy. I just want to update on behalf of the EDCOM that that was raised yung pong RA 9225 on the restriction on those appointed officials of holding dual citizenship. They have to renounce their foreign oath to another country, and they should take oath and allegiance to the Philippines.
That is a general provision to apply to all government employees.
Yes, sir.
So maybe we should make an
Exemption.
exemption for scientific research and
State
that
universities.
kind of thing, di ba? Hindi naman for all positions, di ba? Kasi you might be depriving the Filipino of a job. Pero Filipino na siya actually, no?
Yeah,
So
Philippines.
yeah, you have to think of it. I shouldn't say that. But it applies. It's a government prohibition that hindi nila naisip na madedehado tayo in respect to science and technology. Tama ho ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In fact, yung pong faculty of state universities and colleges covered by that restriction, and also appointed officials to state universities and colleges. So we're thinking of removing that. We will be presenting that in our next commission meeting. Now I'd like to proceed lang, Mr. Chair, on my comments. It's following your direction in the last hearing that if we want to internationalize and liberalize education, we do not stop in increasing the foreign equity investment. There's a menu of reforms that need to be done, and we don't stop there. Whether it's increasing wealth, whether it's making our education institutions more capable or improving quality, we need to do a lot of things, and we don't stop in increasing the foreign equity investment. Now, on that point, Mr. Chair, I just would like to clarify that in allowing or liberalizing education institutions in the country, there are two important aspects. Number one is the establishment itself, which concerns the ownership, the incorporation of the entity here, establishing a juridical personality here. And the second aspect is the recognition of that school. Yung pong second aspect, dito na po yung regulatory environment, applying a recognition from the Commission on Higher Education. Lahat po ng restrictions andun na eh. So yung increasing the foreign equity investment or participation, it only concerns yung establishment. That's why we're saying yung pong lahat po ng iniisip natin, whether it's a restriction or liberalizing, dun po mangyayari dun sa second aspect, which is the regulatory framework. And in EDCOM, we have identified some of the administrative or regulatory barriers to liberalization that should also be addressed if we want to liberalize. So it's not only increasing the foreign equity participation, but actually making the policy environment more friendly. as discussed earlier, like yung pong hiring ng faculty, no? I just wanted to share that for even as it is now, if we want to invite foreign faculty, it has to pass through many regulations, not only from CHED, it has to go through PRC, not only immigration. Like for example, kung allowed na po siya ng CHED, no, based on the program, but the foreign faculty need to get clearance from the PRC because that faculty should come from a country where there is reciprocity, for example. So kung inalaw na po doon at pinagbawal ng PRC, hindi rin po yan papayagan ng immigration. No? Also for students. So lahat po yun, has
Checklist
to be,
so we can ano,
Yes,
give us
yes
a
po.
checklist kasi that's beyond really the jurisdiction of this committee.
Yes.
So I appreciate your mentioning it because there are 4 senators here. Pero maybe we can breeze through that and then
Yes, sir.
focus on the constitutional amendment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, we submitted for a presentation last time. So we'll just we will answer questions na lang po based on the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
po.
Yeah, kasi I think that's for another forum and definitely we want to act on that. Andiyan naman si Chairman Win, si Minority Leader who's also a part of EDCOM. So thank you. Can we hear from Government Academy Industry Network GAIN Executive Director Dr. Genevieve Ledesma Laurel, and then after that we'll hear from Erie, DTI Tiesa, PI, Dr. Albert PIDS. Maybe after Dr. Laurel, Dr. Albert can speak also. So Dr. Laurel, you have the floor, ma'am.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman and members of the Senate and distinguished guests and my fellow resource persons today. I'm representing Dr. Peter Laurel, Chairman of LPU, Lyceum of the Philippines University, Chairman of Government Academy Industry Network, and also Chairman of the Association of Universities and Colleges in the Pacific. I'd like to I hope that there will be spousal transfer of knowledge during this session. I would like to acknowledge our Senator Gatchalian. We've had sessions with you recommending our advocacy for national targets for English, science, and math, just like the other Asian countries. And it's very easy to check if they are within global standards because it has been set with the government. I also would like to acknowledge Senator Pimentel, who has been our guest in several events of the school. And likewise, Senator De La Rosa, we have a kinship. We come from the same region. And Senator Angara, we've had sessions with you on how to improve our PISA scores using free resources in the net. So thank you very much. But I'm here today to express my position of keeping the current constitution intact, emphasizing the importance of local control over all educational institutions while maintaining global connections without altering the constitution. Let me just share with you that I am coming from Southfield Global Education Network, likewise, as a network of 8 private schools, and have been approached many times by foreign investors to buy in and get control of the school. They have floated actually price earning of PE 6 up to PE 8, and sometimes when you are given a figure of $1 billion, you think twice. You think twice, but in all of those offers, I knew that there were perils if ever I sign up and make a foreign group own a particular school. I look at the curriculum and of one of these supposedly partners, and I checked that for every semester there was indoctrination of ideologies that are not consistent with the democratic principles that we hold dear. And likewise, maybe it will enlighten also our group that the experience of many of these foreign investors is when they make money, they sell it again, and then you have new investors coming in. There is one person right now, today, who is here, and he has told me about the horrendous experiences of foreign investors just looking at it as a business. And when they make their money, and sometimes they leave the institution with millions of debts, hundreds of millions of debts, and they make the institution right now pay for it, and they exit. Um, there is this one person who used to work for this group who is here right now, leaving tomorrow, and he will tell you the horrendous experiences of these aggressive foreign bodies that want to buy
Who is
educational
that one
institutions.
person?
Um,
If we could end the mystery, yeah.
he is a foreigner, but I can tell you in private.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
because he told me in confidence what they do and how they damage the schools after leaving and getting
I'm
their
just
money.
curious, why would they damage it if their goal is to sell it? Then it's no longer sellable, or it's no
Yeah,
longer
after they sell it.
after they sell it.
yes,
Ah,
they,
okay.
they
That's a
leave
different
you
story.
with
Yeah.
loans, hundreds of millions of loans,
Right, right.
and then they exit.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, without us knowing, there are already transactions like this going on. It's just not under the radar as of now. But my experience has been, and it's a personal experience, I've talked to many, and they have layered the ownership. And one of them who left this group told me that the money comes from the Middle East. Yeah. So just a personal sharing of an experience that I have. But anyway, I'm here today to highlight the current successes in internationalizing education. And we are advocating for international education and show how Filipinos can access global opportunities without jeopardizing local control. I think our issue right now is not really whether we welcome foreign universities and colleges. Our issue is ownership. And that's what I'm saying. There's a peril to these aggressive foreign investors that will leave you dry after they exit and they sell. And there are many financial transactions that happen. And I'm happy that I did not sell my soul. Yeah, looking back, especially having talked to this person yesterday who was a peddler of these aggressive organizations. But let me tell you that even those that are prestigious schools, in the end, prestigious universities abroad, in the end, it's still, they ask you, is it worth our time and our effort? And let me tell you, because right now, um, actually, internationalization is here. uh, there are no barriers obtaining foreign education credentials at this point. The TNE of CHED facilitates transnational education partnerships, allowing foreign schools to offer specific programs in collaboration with existing Filipino institutions without compromising ownership and control over the core educational principles and convictions. Let me tell you three ways wherein we have allowed international universities to coexist with institutions in the Philippines now. The first one is what you call twinning programs. I wish um, we had the slides because I don't want to go through all of the schools with twinning programs. AAM, for example, offers a global MBA program with dual credentials where students can earn an MBA degree from AIM and also from University of Western Australia. Then you have Thames International. They also have a 2+2 with some universities abroad. You have Mapua, who offers twinning programs with universities in Australia, Canada, and the United States. And we have Southville International School affiliated with foreign universities that offer Pearson and Southern Cross University. And other partners like uh, bachelor's degree for other from Macquarie University. Then the second type of collaboration is called partnerships. You have the Lyceum of the Philippines University. They foster international connections through partnerships with many universities worldwide, including student and faculty exchanges, collaborative research, internships, short-term to a semester academic and cultural programs, um, partner universities across the world, Asia, Europe, and Canada. Then we have Southville International School affiliated with foreign universities. By the way, CISFU, we call it CISFU, has been in existence for 28 years. And it's the only transnational education that offers basic education up to master's degree program with a partner school abroad internationally. So you'll be
What is
surprised.
CISFU? Sorry, I'm not familiar.
Southville International School
Southville.
affiliated with foreign universities. It said it has been in existence for 28 years, and we offer transnational education from basic ed to master's degree programs, but we retain control of the curriculum, and we only allow these partnerships after having gone through what it is that they will teach our students. You have UST likewise, a long history of international linkages and partnerships. You have Silliman University with a lot of network and academic partnerships across continents. The third, so first is the twinning, wherein they earn a degree from two schools, Philippines and another university abroad. The second is the partnership. It's more loose. It's student exchange. It's research collaboration. It is training of faculty, so forth and so on. Student experiences, student camping. The third one is the more difficult one to do, which Southville is doing. It is franchising. We are franchising. Uh, we have franchise with actually two providers, Pearson, UK, and De Montfort University of UK. Um, Franchising, actually, I was just given the definition of franchising by our president and chairman of SFU. It is foreign academic partners agree with the host university in the Philippines to deliver the foreign degree curriculum in the Philippines. The teaching methodology and academic standards are closely monitored by the foreign partners. So let me just tell you more or less how much. And even if they come from they're number one in terms of student experience, De Montfort University, but we have very, very few students. We have only about 200, even if we have been existing for a long time. Let me tell you why. Registration fee is about 75,000 pesos per year or per semester. And program fee is 10,000 pounds or 560,000. And annual fee per student, 53,000. Collaboration review is 20,000 and 20,000 pounds. And every year they come to audit, because remember, the grades come from them, the content of the curriculum comes from them, and the final, they call it a Senate in UK. It goes through several bodies before the grade is given. So we can do an internal grading here, but it is not final. It's only when it comes back. And they get the degree from De Montfort. They can even graduate physically from De Montfort University. But the real universities which have good intentions are expensive. And how does this franchising help? Instead of our students going abroad, they pay here, and so therefore it helps in the economics of the country. So these are the three ways that are being practiced right now, and we have this model for the last 28 years, and it's working. However, because these students are bright, first of all, because UK programs are very, very extensive in terms of critical thinking, but they have the money likewise. There are scholarships going on, but they are limited. So let me talk to you about the MOOCs or the MOOCs. These are massive open line courses. These are offered by Harvard, by Coursera, by Yale, and these are available to every Filipino. You can even put them on the line and have 500 students listen to a Harvard lecture without having to spend anything, their fees, so forth and so on. Bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degree programs can also be obtained by any Filipino. Uh, I have a list. I have a list of those uh, popular universities that are offering this. And in the end, I would say that the focus the focus should be, from my experience, the balancing of international education with our national identity. Controlling school ownership helps regulate curriculum content, ensuring it aligns with our national values and democratic principles. I'd like to say that the thing that made me really not accept these proposals is the threat of losing our freedoms and our democracy, because the ideologies are not consistent with ours, and it's every semester, and there is no way we can monitor what's going on in the classroom 8 hours a day. Allowing foreign ownership may pose a risk of introducing ideologies inconsistent with our ethos, potentially impacting our commitment to our democratic ideals and freedoms secured by our heroes and our constitution. While the Philippines seeks to engage in international educational collaborations to enhance its educational system, and I think Dr. Calabo earlier was saying innovation, its our unique geopolitical situation necessitates a delicate balancing act. Full foreign ownership of schools raises concerns about the potential erosion of our national identity and cultural heritage. Filipinos must maintain authority to shape educational curricula that reflect our values and traditions. It is essential to safeguard what makes us Filipino and ensure that our educational system reflects our core values of governance anchored on our freedoms. In conclusion, in the intricate tapestry of global education, the Philippines' distinct geopolitical position necessitates a strategic approach, one that harmonizes international collaboration with the preservation of our unique identity and democratic values. These approaches, guided by a commitment to national autonomy, empower Filipinos to embrace global educational experiences without relinquishing control over our educational institutions. As we tread this path, it becomes evident that constitutional amendments are not requisite for safeguarding our democracy, Filipino values, national identity, and cultural heritage. Let our educational landscape be a testament to the harmonious coexistence of global connections and national authenticity. By upholding the current constitution and embracing international collaborations within a controlled framework, we illuminate a path towards a future where the Philippines thrives on the global stage while remaining steadfast in its commitment to democratic ideals, Filipino values, national pride, and cultural wealth and heritage. As a representative of GAIN, Government Academe Industry Network, our advocacy is to develop our Filipino talent so that they can be globally competitive. However, these technology skills and other competency requirements are accessible to the Filipino without full Filipino ownership, without relinquishing full control of to non-Filipinos. We have millions of overseas Filipino workers who are grappling with national identity. Let us safeguard and let us ensure that our democratic ideals and cultural heritage are preserved. Thank you.
Thank you. I just noticed we're going on 2 hours, so maybe if we could take a 5 to 10 minute health break with the permission of my colleagues, and we can resume at 12:05, if that's all right. That's 12:05, 12:07, around that time. Thank you. Hearing is suspended. Ladies and gentlemen, can we, I'm not sure if Dr. Padilla was finished already. Would you like to continue, ma'am? And then after Dr. Padilla, Dr. Albert from PIDS. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Padilla.
It's really very short. I just want to request that the reframing of the economic policy does not contradict our
Sorry, I'd
Philippine-
just like to acknowledge our Deputy Minority Leader, Senator Risa Ontiveros, the Chair of the Senate Committee on Women. Morning, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Chair. Salamat po.
Yeah, go ahead, Doctor.
Magandang hapon po. Ulitin ko lang po as just as to close my my statements earlier. We just want to us to appeal to the committee that the reframing of the economic policy will not contradict the first Filipino and the Tatak Pinoy. I'm confident that will be the case, but I just want to put it on record. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
We'll not
to-
allow that because we're the
Okay,
author of the
I know.
Tatak Pinoy.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
definitely will not undermine our own work, Chancellor. In fact, it's meant to be complementary to see how we can benefit from these collaborations rather than lose our people, things like that. No. So thank you. Can we hear from Dr. Albert and after that, Attorney Perez and DTI, Tiesa, PI. We have previous guests also here. Dr. Sikat, we'd like to acknowledge his presence, sir. Anytime, sir, if you want to chime in, please, you're most welcome. And from PACO also, PRC, TESA, and DTI BOI to complete the guests. So, yes, Dr. Albert, please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, let me point out that we provided already a position paper as requested by the Secretariat. But as I speak now, I'd like to mention that the usual disclaimer that what I say are my own views and do not necessarily reflect those of the Philippine Institute for Development Studies. First, let me point out that as far as as far as I'm concerned, the issue of change. Every time I'm always asked, I'm a very I take things with a view of data. Being a statistician by profession, though I do a lot of policy research. But let me point out that as far as policy changes are concerned, I always say that change always presents significant opportunities, but they also provide potential risks that could impact the nation's immediate as well as long-term future. And in this case, where the chair has already been pointing out that when I was reading actually the language of the current proposed amendments, I was actually confused because I thought, this would be the scope would be much bigger than just higher education. But maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a lawyer. My father was a lawyer, and but I'm not one. I'm a statistician by profession, as I mentioned, and I only see data. And anyways, in the case of the education sector, in fact we released just last year, and we made a public webinar about a case on the entire education sector being really broken. There are many problems we face. It's sad to say that the point being raised earlier by Dr. Kulaba that we are very far from the frontiers of innovation. Our labor market, market is fairly unskilled. And so the question is whether the proposed amendments will really help upskill. That's the main point. And while we laud the efforts of our senators, our legislators for trying to think of ways to try to solve all our problems, but at the same time we also need to take a step back and recognize that the solution to one problem may carry the seed of the next problem. And that's a wisdom that I've learned myself, looking through the history of changes. And
as was pointed out, I think by both Dr. Padilla and already Chairman Jevara, that the issue of the barriers to entrance in higher education does not stop in ownership alone, but they sadly go into so many other things, including the faculty appointments, which are a bit uh, worrisome, given that when we think of trying to, as I said, upskill while they're, as what's already pointed out by my next door neighbor here, who she pointed out that there are already many things happening in the higher education sector, and so the question is whether or not the full liberalization will solve will solve problems or create new ones. It's not easy for us right now because our crystal ball will never really fully show us where things will be. But nonetheless, I would always say that all changes are always welcome. But at the same time, I caution the Congress to also recognize that there will be unintended consequences to whatever changes that we propose. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So you're just saying it's potentially rewarding but also potentially risky. Any position? Because I remember that saying that I think it's President Truman or Eisenhower who wanted a one-handed economist.
Well, I'm not an economist. We do have the father of economics here in the Philippines. But
So basically, in your just to cut things short, cut to the chase, Dr. Albert, you don't feel that constitutional amendments in the education sector are necessary.
well, I think they are.
You think they are?
I
Okay.
think it would be important not just in the education sector across the Constitution for me was written at a time when we needed to strengthen ourselves
Okay.
in certain ways.
Okay.
But that said,
Yeah.
please be careful.
Okay, got it, got it. Thank you. Yeah. Dr. Sikat, you're free to intervene, sir. Because you spoke earlier on the general provisions on the economy and foreign investment, but we welcome your particular insights on this sector.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In fact, I was not sure you really wanted me today because
Apologies, sir. As a matter of procedure, we just go to those who had spoken first, but it took us a while to get to you. But by all means, we're listening, sir.
yes, but I was surprised. I was asked to come for today, and I know the topic is education. Uh, I'm very happy to speak on this topic to some extent because I'm an educator. But I also want to say a few things that might be related to the constitutional issues that we are facing. Uh, I have looked at a lot of constitutions of different countries, and especially the ones that that have been cited in our region and their advances in the educational front. And I noticed, for one, that although education is oftentimes mentioned in these in their constitutions as a responsibility or the right of citizens, it is not at all a subject of strictures within the Constitution. This is really strange that we're doing it here in our country. This is my first point because the educational policies, the running of education is a matter for general legislation, a matter for ordinary legislation in most of these countries. It does not really require a quarreling of among the principles of a country about the fundamental nature of education as a problem of great concern. It is a great concern because we educate our people to improve them. But it is a matter for general legislation. That's the main point. So to some extent, I can say this explains why, to some extent, I say I truly believe that we should be off the, the fundamental nature of discussing education as if it is something like an iron law to be followed, in which there are specific areas where we have to be bounded by principles. The only principle related to education is that it teaches us nationhood, nation building, love of country, and so on. And that is the role of the, the government in running the educational sector for our children. Now, the topic mainly, I think, today is that of higher education, because this was really designed to look into the effects of the of the restrictions on the Constitution on the way we have run our educational system at the tertiary level. I'm glad I listened here today because I heard a lot of things that taught me a number of things, including those things I knew when I was at the UP. When I was at the UP, a lot of things about the difficulties of getting foreigners appointed within the faculty is one of the major item of discussion. And it's amazing that it came as a result of a by comment of Dr. Padilla that the appointment of people of high quality will require a great burden because of the unintended consequences of the major provisions of our Constitution, which has prevented us from getting the best education. This is the main point. I think overall, it's very easy to see that greater freedom in educational programs, domestically promoted, and even promoted for foreign education of all Filipinos will help us in upgrading our human skills. But now that we're talking about the liberalization of the restrictions that we have on education, I believe that all the things that we want, like greater innovations in our country, improvement of the scientific skills of our countrymen, the improvement of competition among the institutions doing teaching, the teaching of our youth, the the creation of a broader choice for education among parents for their children, and the total upskilling of our labor force are critical to the liberalization of education in the country. I look backward. I think I might be permitted to look backward because I think it's important for us to understand the nature of our backwardness in this area. I call it backwardness because I feel that in the last 20 years, I mean, not 20 years, maybe 40 years, we have lagged slowly behind those countries in the region that had much greater freedom in the educational sector to take advantage of the innovations, the liberality of access to good educational institutions, the liberality of access given by foreign institutions to help us get more resources to get education for the people. About 40 years ago, I think, or maybe 50 years ago, the UP or the Philippines, the Philippine educational system was looked up to as a model within Asia. I think we were far ahead because we were partly benefited by the access to to American dollars, $8 to bring up our country. And then some institutions in the UP, for instance, they became much better off because China had a revolution, and the revolution freed a lot of money from the Rockefeller Foundation, Ford Foundation, and it went partly to the Philippines and so on. I think I probably am a recipient of one of those kinds of things. A poor guy who got to be got a scholarship because of because there was dollar money available, and I think it helped us a lot. I'm not talking of myself. I'm talking of the university itself. The UP became a major institution, bringing forward the country, I think, and the other institutions, the private institutions, they were following, but the UP was far ahead. Los Baños was far ahead. And with all the other kinds of programs that supplemented the the gains that the UP had in bringing itself up, it was able to become a force within the Southeast Asian region. We educated the Thais, we educated the Malaysians, we educated the Indonesians, and so on. Today, I think we are far behind them in the educational sector. What brought us to that level? I think now I go back again to my old story. We got restricted, and the restrictions are in the Constitution, and they were there in 1935. It brought we didn't know them, and we imported them into our 1987 revolution and added more because we suspected that some of these some of the restrictions had to be more restricted in some areas. And we are in a time when we discover that we have to reform a lot of things, not only in education. These are the points I'm making. So just, just look at the. Let me just go into a little review of our Constitution. It has, well, the U.S. Constitution, which is the model, I think, of a brief Constitution, has something like. I took a little analysis of this.
Number of amendments, sir? Are
that?
you talking about the number of amendments?
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the words.
Okay.
About 4,700, excluding the signatures. Ours in 1987 is, I forgot. I have it here.
Much more, much more.
Much more, yeah. But I want to get the number right. Sorry, I always forget. Well, they are. I get into this trouble whenever I talk.
Yung 10% is
Ah.
Bill of Rights.
But
Bill of Rights yun. Freedom of assent.
okay, with 21,660. I did this myself. The 66 probably you added some of the titles or the date. That's a lot. The preamble is 75 words when we could have said it in 10 words. The Declaration of State Policies, 779 words. Well, we have to declare the policy.
I guess that's why it's called the basic law, sir. It has
Yeah,
to
yes,
be basic
yeah.
rather than
The Bill of Rights is
fanciful.
1,442. The Bill of Rights in the U.S. Constitution is so much briefer. And you know, the Bill of Rights in the French Constitution is even briefer. than the French Constitution.
The briefest is
Than
the
the
Magna Carta,
US
sir.
Constitution.
The briefest is the Magna Carta of the United
Because
Kingdom.
it just referred to the Magna Carta and so on. The magic of words. But the article on national economy and patrimony, how long is that? 1,745 words. All of the other countries probably have, if they had anything on national economy and patrimony, might have put it at 100 or maybe 45. That's why we're in trouble. I think we got this enlarged in 1987. In 1935 up to 1973, they were probably 1,500. Then the article on social and human rights, 1,438. Do you know the Constitution of Indonesia, 1945, according to a summary made in 1987 by the Department of Information of the Indonesian government, makes the I have it in my computer. I don't have it here. But
Sir, you
it
can
is
come in
only-
at any
yeah,
time,
yeah,
even
but
when
it's
we're
only
just
very
raise your
brief.
hand. Yes,
It's
sir.
only very brief.
Ah.
I tell you, ours is 21,000. The Indonesian Constitution, enlarged by the notations of the Department of Information, was only 1,500 words. That's why they didn't have any time to do all these kinds of special restrictions or special provisions in our Constitution. If we have to amend the Constitution, I guess we have to get a word expert to make it brief. But we are stuck with a long and heavy Constitution. We are here to undertake reviews and amendments and so on. And I know I know you're stuck with the words, and so you're just trying to make introductions of amendments so that you have to amend certain provisions with unless provided by law, etc. So as not to destroy the wordings of the Constitution. But I heard some wiser men one of our justices who said, perhaps in some areas we should strike them out, abolish them, abolish certain words or provisions so that we can make it simpler. The magic that is in your hand is how to do between the unless provided for or the striking out of the provision so that we make it simpler. But let me just make that point. Thank you very much.
That's very useful, and we appreciate the scholarship and the perspective, Dr. Sikat. Salamat po.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Senator Bato.
siguro kung i-translate natin yung 1987 Constitution into Filipino and or Bisaya, baka maging times 3 pa, sir, yung number of words. Maging times 3 pa. I-translate natin, Mr. Chairman.
Dapat ikaw yung translator para umiksi, Senator Bato. Kasi magaling si Senator Bato, paiksin yung mga issue.
I wish I could read I wish I could read the little note that I had wanted to read. It's in my computer.
Sir, you
But
can retrieve it, and then at any time we'll allow you
Yeah,
to come in.
I will
Yes, sir.
email it to you if you like.
Yes, please. Yes.
It's a commentary comparing the Indonesian Constitution with reference to the Philippine Constitution.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sigat. That's much appreciated. Can we hear from the Erie or International Rice Research Institute? We have Attorney Perez with us. Attorney Perez, good afternoon. Thank you for waiting.
Magandang umaga, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. And thank you for inviting Erie I'm here in behalf of our Director General, Dr. Ajay Kohli, who's unfortunately away on research business abroad. So that being said, Mr. Chair, let me just share first what is the nature of Erie. We are an international organization. We are neither private nor public. I think we belong to that gray area of international organizations, which is either neither UN. In a sense, we are owned by the 19 countries that signed the 1995 International Agreement recognizing our international legal personality, and chief of which is the Philippines. And Erie is headquartered in the Philippines, truly a source of Filipino pride. In the agreement, it is stated there that the depositary of our international agreement is the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs. Notwithstanding that, and being headquartered in the Philippines, we do have 10 other host country agreements, and some of them are in our Southeast Asian neighbors, like Indonesia hosts us, Vietnam hosts us, Cambodia, Laos, and some other countries in South Asia. We have two trustees who are Filipinos. They are the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture and the UP President. So they sit in our board and they are part of our governance. While we are not for the purposes of this hearing, Mr. Chair, we are not an educational institution. So we are not your competitors. We are purely a research organization and we are friends with everybody. In fact, our charter mandates that we are apolitical. In fact, I've cautioned even some of our officers that we don't involve ourselves in local politics, whether in the Philippines or other countries. We do not try to dictate policy. It is up to the countries to decide. The same way we do our research po. We do our research, but it's up to the countries to deploy our research or if they want to use it. And our board chair now is Dr. Cao Du Phat. He's Vietnamese, used to be the secretary, or they call them the Minister of Agriculture in Vietnam. And he always proudly says that 80 to 90% of the rice scientists in Vietnam were trained at Erie. And that gives us always a source of pride. And I take this opportunity to confirm what Chancellor Camacho said, that we have close collaboration. In fact, we are hosted by the University of the Philippines at Los Baños. That's where our research fields and headquarters seats are located. And part of our collaboration is sharing our expertise with UPLB and even the Philippine government through PhilRice. So that being said, we have not seen any provision in the present Philippine Constitution that hinders our ability to collaborate, share expertise, and work with our national partners. Hopefully none will be forthcoming. So that, Mr. Chair, is our statement. And again, thank you for inviting us and allowing us the opportunity to present our views.
You know, the common or the conventional wisdom is that so many of the agricultural ministers and rice scientists from Thailand, Vietnam were educated at Erie. And the difference being that they were better at adapting the technology provided by Erie than the Philippines. At building the ecosystem, blah, 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 adapting technology, blah, blah. Do you confirm that, sir?
We have, well, ganito po yun, Senator. It's a controversial thing because it might place in a position that we make judgment on a country, which we cannot do. But
Not, you don't have to put down anyone, but you can just state the facts.
well, yes, some of the scientists have adopted. Some have adopted well, some have not. We've always, one question that always comes to us po is that we're always asked, how come we're importing rice? And we always say we cannot answer that because that's not within Erie's mandate, objectives, or even supplemental powers. We're just here to do research and give our technologies. In fact, our technologies, our IP, are public goods. But we also seek to protect them defensively, mind you, so that it's not unnecessarily
IP or
exploited.
IT, sir?
IP po.
Intellectual property.
Yes.
Okay.
The fruits of research.
So patents for certain varieties of rice?
We have patents, but as I always say, it's defensive in nature so that it's not exploited and unduly made exclusive by a third party to the detriment of the general public.
And okay, you seem to be you're playing safe, sir. Sorry, and I understand why. But in terms of adoption of patents, for instance, can you give us the facts for countries?
I can give you the data. I don't have the data with me right now, Senator,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Can you, we'll just ask for the data na lang.
Yes.
Yung how you measure, I'm sure you have performance indicators on the part of Erie, and I'm sure countries have their own performance indicators. But on your using your performance indicators, could you submit to the or your recommendations have become mainstream policy in their countries, Attorney Perez, para you don't get into trouble. We'll submit nyo lang in paper, please.
No problem, Senator. But if I may mention, a recent study was made, I think it's 2023, but it's CGIAR wide. Erie is a member of, is one of 14 other international agricultural research institutions under the umbrella which we call the Consultative Group of International Agricultural Research Organizations, or CGIAR. And a study was recently made. In fact, I downloaded the study on the impact of CGIAR research on countries. And that includes from rice, and the crops that CGIAR research as a whole include ones that were very common with garbanzos, sorghum, millet, rice, wheat, corn, potato. So these are diverse crops wherein research is trying to bring to fruit how we can make these crops more either productive or make farm or increase the impact for small landholder farmers.
We'll appreciate the reference to the study and then any other information, sir. Salamat po. Salamat po. Can we hear from DTI, Philippine Trade Training Center Director Nelly Diliera? Ma'am, thank you again for waiting.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Your Honors. We're actually supporting the proposed legislation because the objective is to elevate education standards by empowering universities and higher educational institutions to establish international campuses in specific countries globally. This legislation creates chances for students in the Philippines spanning diverse socioeconomic backgrounds to receive high-quality education overseas, broadening the range of knowledge and expertise they can acquire. Moreover, it permits Philippine educational institutions to build connections and partnerships with foreign universities and higher education entities, facilitating the unrestricted flow of information, personnel, and academic programs. The law encourages innovation, fosters collaboration, and improves competitiveness in the higher education. And while we are attracting investors, we should also entice international students to study here. Hence, the need for the Philippine education to become competitive. And we are particularly advocating the Philippine Skills Framework towards this end. The Philippine Skills Framework, as you may have heard, it is actually a reference document that's composed of career map, skills map that also indicates this description of a particular job role, the key tasks, critical functions, as well as the set of skills and competencies for a particular job role. And these are documents, reference documents that can actually guide and be made use of by the different educational institutions or even training institutions in updating the curriculum and even the modules. Because this is contextualized by industry players and at the same time referenced on international standards. So we are advocating the Philippine Skills Framework because it holds significant importance to transnational higher education by providing a standardized and globally aligned set of skills essential for the development of competitiveness of graduates. This framework serves as a quality assurance mechanism, ensuring consistency and excellence across educational programs and institutions operating in diverse international settings. By incorporating industry-relevant competencies, the framework caters to the needs of both global and local job markets, enhancing the employability of graduates. Moreover, it facilitates the mobility of students and professionals across borders as the skills acquired align with international standards, fostering a more interconnected and adaptable workforce. By the way, Your Honor, the DTI will actually be coming up its position paper. This is just for the Philippine Trade Training Center. We also have our colleagues here, of course, from PEZA and of course from the Board of Investments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tieza, Legal Officer Attorney Lani Cipres Salazar. Ma'am, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
The authority is amenable to the proposed amendments on the certain economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution. Since the mandate of the authority is to develop, supervise, and regulate tourism enterprise zone with the primary objective of encouraging investments and to develop and manage infrastructure project, and the principal agency for the collection of travel tax, 50% of which is allocated for TIEZA, and out of which 5% of which is earmarked for the development of historic, cultural, religious, and heritage sites and prime tourist destinations, and another 5% for the development of ecotourism sites in depressed provinces with strong tourism potentials. Hence, allowing foreign investments here in the Philippines will help in sustainable economic growth and national competitiveness. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney. Senior Immigration Officer, Board of Immigration, Anthony Cabrera. Yeah. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair. To the honorable senators, magandang tanghali po. On behalf of the my commissioner, Honorable Norman Tansinko, the Bureau of Immigration on Senate resolution on both houses number 6 entitled Resolution on Both Houses of Congress proposing amendments on certain economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, particularly on Articles 12, 14, and 16. The BI poses no objection to Senate resolution of both houses number 6 on amendments on certain economic provisions of Article 12, 14, and 16 of the 1987 Constitution. The BI also strongly supports the goal of the government to attract more foreign investments, create jobs, and spur development. The BI shall continually work with appropriate government agencies to strengthen the government's objective in regulating economic sectors that can be open to foreign investors. Thank you.
Salamat po, Officer Cabrera. Salamat po. Can we hear from the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities, TIP Associate Joshua Alexander Calaguas? I think you've spoken already in the previous hearing, no? Yeah. Or anything new? I think, did you ask for time for a position paper? I think you asked for time, no, to come up with a consolidated position. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, Your Honor, the invitation to the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities was extended to the TIP. Unfortunately, they are not able to bring to give a representative, and so we are here to represent their views. We understand, Your Honor, that the TIP was invited because of the question on TechBook and the probability of building a TechBook industry in our country, or a TechBook hub in our country. However, Your Honor, we respectfully manifest that TIP is not a TechBook institution. It does not offer technical vocational courses. However, Your Honor, if I may take this time, because we have talked to some of our members, and we're still in the process of consolidating all the very important insights of our members. However, our members are of the view, and we support the COCOPEA's view of opposing the amendments, in particular to those that lift the foreign equity restrictions in the Constitution. We will be submitting our position paper, Your Honor, by the end of the week, as soon as we finish the consolidated reports of our members. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Can we hear from PRC, Director Comafe and Division Chief Rosales? Yeah. Anything new from your, are they here?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, hello. Anything new from your side?
From our side, we still maintain the same position as we provided in the last hearing.
Okay, thank you. PEZA, Group Manager Attorney Jenny June Romero.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
thank you for waiting.
And to all the members of this honorable committee. What is new with PEZA, Your Honor, is that what is relevant for this meeting is our KIST, what we call the Knowledge, Information, and Science and Technology Parks. PESA concurs with the move to amend the economic provisions of the Constitution and open some industries to foreign participation. This move to lift the economic restriction in the Constitution is essential in this era of globalization and pivotal to advance in the race with our ASEAN neighbors in attracting foreign direct investments. Under our present administration, PESA has diversified and redirected its strategy in economic zone development in line with its new thrust of eco-zoning the Philippines towards inclusive growth and sustainable development. Your Honors, under this new strategy of PESA, while preserving the dependable traditional land-based manufacturing economic zones, PESA will now embark in new frontiers of economic zone development. Some of these new economic zones are what we call the blue economy, aquamarine, smart cities, mega ecozones. And as I said earlier, what is relevant in this meeting is the KIST. It is the Knowledge, Information, and Science Technology Parks. What are these KIST parks? KIST parks, this will be established in the lands of campuses.
Sorry, what type of park is that? Sorry.
It is KIST, Your Honor. KIST,
Knowledge,
Information, Science, and Technology
okay.
Parks. These economic zones will be located in big tracts of land in our HEI, higher education institution, because we have state colleges and universities who have big tracts of lands, Your Honor, and these are just lying around. They are idle. They are wasted. So
We're in danger of being land reformed because
Yes,
the
sir.
DAR is already claiming it's government lands kasi wala
So-
ng private. So
sir, so
mga
these
SUC lands na ang kinukuha nila. So you have to, I think you have to, tama yung policy nyo. Sorry for interrupt.
Yes, sir. So these SUCs, they could come to PESA and have this declared as an economic zone. And these KIST parks or KIST eco zones, they will be developed in order to strengthen and to give teeth and to give fruition to all these innovation, science, and technology initiatives of the country. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority, under our Director General Teresa Opanga, who went with the president in Australia, Your Honors, to promote the country. And with DOST and PESA, we inked a MOA last year in August for the establishment of these KIST eco zones. These KST parks will play a significant role in increasing the research and development infrastructure, fostering collaboration in R&D with foreign partners, facilitating technology transfer, and upskilling our workforce towards
Meron na ho
innovation.
tayo niyan? Meron na.
So we have one already. We
Saan
have the
po?
Batangas State University.
Okay.
And this is very operational now. And in
Where
fact,
located? We're in Batangas City?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Batangas City?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And in fact, it has been doing very good collaboration with our industries because some of our export companies, they engage
Nasa Batangas din.
Yes, sir.
Sa Tanawan and Santo Tomas.
the economic zones which are located near Batangas University.
What are the eco zones in Batangas? As I'm aware of the Tanawan and Santo Tomas one.
We
What?
have FPIP, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's FPIP. What are the
So
others?
some of our economic zones located there who need immediate skilled, what do you call this?
Workers. Yeah.
They partner with Batangas University so that the moment that these graduates will already be ready for employment, they are already absorbed by
That's
these
good.
economic zone
That's good.
companies. We also have 3 in the offing. We have De La Salle, Lyceum, and the other one in Perpetual, the I Alta Hub.
What's the third one? Sorry.
I Alta Hub, Your Honor, under Perpetual Hub.
Saan po yun?
I think in Laguna also.
Okay.
These KIST IT parks also is envisioned to be a center for technology transfer and commercialization and a platform to integrate various science, technology, and innovation initiatives in the region. Your Honor, on this context, on this note, PESA supports the amendment of the mentioned economic provisions in the Constitution to generate substantial investor interest to relevant industries and heighten the country's competitiveness in attracting foreign direct investments. We likewise move and support the implementation of needed safeguards so that the country's national interest, sovereignty, and security will not be compromised while in the pursuit of our investment promotion agenda. Thank you very much, Your
Thank you very
Honors.
much. It's very encouraging, Attorney Romero. DTI BOI, Acting Division Chief Dino Recto. Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Chair and members of the Senate, honorable ladies and gentlemen, the BOI's position is aligned with the position of our mother agency, the DTI, which supports the call to amend economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution. Given that the Constitution is a framework that provides fundamental principles of our government, we need a forward-looking policy direction to develop the Philippine industries and at the same time protect our national interests. The amendment will enable Congress to enact laws necessary to implement reforms necessary for economy. And with that, Mr. Chair, we would like to emphasize that liberalization of some of the sectors, for example, in our renewable energy, we had the BOI recorded growth with the RE sector when it was liberalized. From 2020 to 2022, it only had 423 billion pesos in approved investments. But after the liberalization, the RE approved investments surged to 1,088,979 billion pesos. With that base benchmark, we can also look forward to the other sectors having growth in investments as well.
Thank you. There are no other resource persons, but I'd like to throw this question particularly to the DTI BOI PEZA. You were saying that we have these KIST zones, and I think that's a very, very positive development. And you're providing the existing needs of the workforce needs of the locators and investors. But what about the more advanced type of thinking? Like, who do we want to attract here? Because that's also a new provision in the, or a new way of thinking or philosophy in the CREATE law na mas targeted yung incentives natin. So I guess you want to flip that question around. Who are we targeting? Diba? Because I'm reminded of the news for the last few weeks. NVIDIA, which is one of the biggest companies in the world, it's overtaken Amazon, which Amazon is, of course, is supposed to be the new economy, that type of not producing anything but providing a platform for goods and services. So parang I'm wondering if that's a symbolic change in the economy, in the world economy, when NVIDIA overtakes Amazon. NVIDIA, of course, is driven by the artificial intelligence or the AI boom, and they're also into gaming, robotics, among others. So along those lines, what is the thinking there in the DTI, the BI, the BOI, the PEZA, and anyone from Science, R&D, and the SNT network can chime in. Mr. Recto,
Chair.
yeah, Chief.
Mr. Chair, if we look at the BOI's and DTI's positioning strategy, we can't, our promotions department can provide you the companies themselves that we're trying to promote or attract to invest in the Philippines. But in general terms, when we look at sectors, our priority sectors are, examples are electric vehicles, smart high-tech light manufacturing. So if you remember some of the vacuum cleaners and the high-tech appliances that we already attracted into the Philippines, that's one of the examples or the benchmarks that we can provide. We also prioritize outsourced semicon assembly and tests, green metals, those developing copper, cobalt for green and sustainability-driven products like the batteries for electric vehicles. We also we are trying to attract high-tech agriculture, renewable energy, data centers, and
Nothing on AI.
telecommunications.
Nothing on AI.
That would go to the high-tech.
High-tech. But I think you should put that, you should separate it because that changes everything. Diba? And then it changes the whole education landscape. It changes the whole business landscape. In effect, it's already changing it, in fact.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Actually, the general positioning strategy of the BOI is to make the Philippines a regional hub for smart, sustainability-driven manufacturing and services. When we say smart, AI is already considered in that regard. If you also look in the strategic investment priorities plan, the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution is provided the highest incentives among the activities.
Any
AI
takers so far?
Not yet. There might be some. I'm not yet at liberty to say. We have to go. I have to go back to my principles to provide an
Can you
answer,
provide
Mr.
na
Chair.
lang ano? Can you give us some feedback on that? Because the Create Law was passed in
2021 April 11.
2021. I think it took a time for the IRR to also be formulated, and there were a lot of debates there. So I understand why it's a little slow to materialize. No, yes, Dr. Padilla, is it on this topic?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
We're not yet in the radar of this team, but as I said earlier, UP Manila is setting up a science and technology park at the new Clark City. We're actually in discussion with DTI as we
It's a PEZA
speak right
zone.
now.
It's a PEZA zone, I
Yes,
assume, no? Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And just to answer the question on the how to attract the locators, we have to understand how we can be competitive by benchmarking with science parks overseas. So I personally have visited several science parks in Europe and in Asia, and I can see that one major factor is actually the incentives that we give to locators to come to the Philippines. So for our case, for the UP Manila Science Park, we have a consultation on April 2. We're bringing in about 40 to 50 locators who we think will follow um, our thrust. So this is health. And I'm glad that you raised the issue of AI because we're going to focus on diagnostics. We have identified the therapeutics that we want to focus in, specifically those that have been neglected by the country, because we're just focused on the common ones, but there are new technologies that can be addressed. And definitely AI is actually in our agenda. So if we want to bring in local, not only international, but not only foreign, but even local investors, we need to understand what they need because there is a community that we have to serve. In the language of the Science and Technology Park, it's already a quinto helix. There are 5 components to a successful science and technology park. One is the academic pillar, and that means we need all the universities, both private and government, to provide the new knowledge. The second point will be the government, and that will be DOST, DTI, DA, DOH, and so on. The third will be the civil environment. The last one is actually environment, civil society, and one that's always overlooked is industry. So as we visited different science parks in more developed countries, some of them realized that they should have brought in industry from the very beginning. So if we really want to attract both local and foreign investments into our science parks, we have to understand the needs of the locators. And I'm more than happy to share workshops, materials that we have gotten from the meetings that we have attended.
Please,
But
please,
we-
please.
but
Can
we
you
will
share with
do
us
that.
some of the ones you visited? Sino po yung when you're modeling?
Um,
And then also on the
yes,
Quinto Helix,
yes.
you mentioned
Oh,
4.
yes,
Who's the
yes.
5th?
So academe,
Yeah.
government,
Yeah.
industry,
Civil environment.
civil society.
Who's the 5th?
Civil society, environment is the 5th one.
Okay.
So I have materials on this topic, which I will be happy to share. We visited actually Malaga Science and Technology Park, which is more than 30 years in collaboration with the University of Malaga, and they definitely, this is the base of the International Association of Science and
In
Technology
Spain,
Parks.
Malaga in Spain.
Yes, we went to Seville, we went to Granada, and the very last one that we visited actually was Singapore. And I mean, I've seen Singapore from ground zero, and there are many lessons. We don't have to go far. We can learn from them. I'll be more than happy to share these materials with the group, with DTI, and also with your committee.
Yeah, I'll recognize Dr. Albert, but first I want to finish with the. How about is Silicon Valley still a model? The biotech hub in Massachusetts, for instance.
Yes, definitely.
Are those models you're looking?
Yes, definitely, Your Honor. It's just that we're familiar with them. So we wanted to look at the other
I see,
models.
I see.
There are 400 science parks in the International Association of Science Parks, non-registered from the
How
Philippines.
about China? Did you look at China?
No, but I'm aware. So I actually know the model in Asia because when we set up the Philippine Genome Center, we already looked at the different models. That's why we decided to go outside.
That's
Um,
because you're talking about health and I guess medical related,
Yes.
science related technologies. But one of the biggest is Shenzhen. I mean, that whole ecozone there, di ba?
Yes,
Are you
yes.
looking at that?
Maybe in another, we have, if you had the budget to go to all the places, so we had to prioritize where
Okay.
we were going to use the budget. But I will recommend visiting science parks to see how they actually move forward. I will share one story because this is, I think, going to be important for the locators. There was one big company that was about to locate actually in a science park in Spain on the last minute. That was taken by a country in Asia. And the only thing that spelled the difference
Vietnam or is
was
that Vietnam or Singapore?
Singapore.
Singapore.
It was basically the taxes. We have to really look at the policy if you want to come here.
It was not a Taylor Swift concert.
No, it was not a Taylor Swift
it was-
concert. But we have so many lessons we picked up along the way, and I'm more than happy to actually share them with the committee.
Okay, thank you. I will appreciate the information on that. Yes, attorney.
Um, Mr. Chair, regarding your question on what kind of industries that we wish to locate in these KIST or KST economic zones, we already have formulated the guidelines as regards the development or the establishment of these KIST eco zones. And for this, we want our locators to be involved on the following industries. They will be involved in R&D and innovation, areas of biotechnology, food and nutrition, agriculture engineering, electronics, robotics, renewable energy, transport solutions, data analytics, artificial intelligence. Just for the information of the body, although it is not part of the KIST economic zone, just recently PEZA was able to get or register a company that is engaged in biotech, what they call this, biotech industry. This is Green Energy with Torrefaction Technology Inc. company, wherein they would get all of these invasive mga damo grasses. We have the buyo-buyo. And because of technology, they will convert this into energy, Your Honor.
Great, that's something we need. But you're thinking naman in terms of supply chains, di ba? Upstream, downstream. Para hindi lang in isolation because there's many cases of giving incentives, very generous incentives, but it fails because there's no complementarity within the supply chains. So ganun naman tayo mag-isip ngayon.
Yes, sir. Because we are the DG, his trust now is to provide the best ecosystem in the economic
Okay,
zones.
great,
Yes,
great.
sir.
Kasi yan ang reason natatalo tayo sa kotse, and it might be the reason we lose again in EVs because China is everything there, you know. So if we don't think in those terms, then, or at least where we slot in, no? Baka kahit meron tayong momentary opening, baka matalo rin tayo in the long run, di ba? Hindi sustainable. Yeah, Dr. Albert, you're raising your hand. And after that, we'll go to Mr. Santos, the president and co-founder of Thames International Business School.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just remember that last year the PIBS had as part of our theme for our annual public policy conference the emerging twin economy where we're twin transition where we're recognizing a much more greener and more digital future. And I suppose many of our government agencies, including DTI, have already started to think about at least the digital part, and they've come up with specific roadmaps to. But even me, I'm wondering because I always look at data, and I'm wondering to what extent can we benchmark ourselves relative to other countries. But I'm glad that right now I'm doing a little bit of work on the green economy, but sadly, out of 9 countries in ASEAN, we're number 6. Of course, we're not calculating Brunei here, but so I'm really saddened to see that if we're taking as far as at least the greener part, we're not preparing ourselves yet.
Why is that?
Well, there's so many things. I guess part of the reason is that the environment isn't really in our paradigm most of the time. There's a very big difference. Even now, we think of even the middle class. We're trying to grow the middle class. reduce poverty. They're practically synonymous. But many people in the middle class, the very first thing, in fact, even in Ambition 2040, when people were saying, we want to be a middle class society where no one is poor, the first thing that they want is coche, to have a car. It's in our mindset that sadly we think of these kinds of things, but we don't think of the repercussions of having cars rather than having, having to use public transport. I mean, how many of even our government officials, including us, how many of us use public transport rather than, putting more problems to the economy by using our private cars, So those are things that sadly are not in our mindset yet. And more so when you keep talking about climate change, at the end of the day, what does climate change means to us? Many of us don't realize that we need cleaner energy, we need to do many things, but it's not
Did
yet
you
there.
factor in that, kung yung ranking 6, what year was that?
2022.
So na-factor na ba yung sinabi ni, who said that? The BOI, yung renewable energy investments worth
Hindi
1.88
pa eh. Hindi pa. Kasi parang feeling ko we're still not
So medyo
there yet.
magbabago yun, di ba? Kasi from
We're
20
not yet-
billion
yeah,
naging
maybe
1
a
trillion.
little bit. I mean, little by little, we're getting
Yeah,
there.
so maybe
but
nga medyo delayed lang tayo.
yeah,
But,
we're delayed there. And
so
I
give us your
guess-
recommendations on how to further that, sir. How to move that ranking along, Dr. Albert. No,
Right
not now, but because again, we want to be focused on the issue at hand.
Yeah,
But
well-
that concerns us.
Well, for me, the part of the issue is really also data because it's so hard even in government to try to ask where things are. We tend to think that data is so easy that,
Yeah. So again, sir, give us a laundry list, but now is not the time to make it a gripe session against
Sure.
government shortcomings. No?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next, I'll get back to you, Dr. Padilla. I saw you raising. I was told by Senator Risa you're raising your hand. We just have one more resource person, si Mr. Joel Santos. He's the president and co-founder of Thames International Business School. He's online. Yeah. Hi, Mr. Santos. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Senator Angara, and to the other participants. So I was asked to comment whether I'm please correct me if I'm wrong, that whether I'm in favor of having 100% foreign ownership for higher education institutions and TechVo. Am I right, Senator?
Yes, this is a hearing on the possible liberalization of the economic provisions of the Constitution. Referring one of these is the provision on educational institutions on ownership, control, management, but it's wide enough to encompass teaching also profession. So we'd appreciate your feedback given your work in this sector, sir.
So yeah, just as a background for those who are, I am currently a Philippine-owned 100% CHED and DepEd accredited. However, we were one of the pioneers of transnational education, particularly in having foreign degree type partnerships. We've been doing this since 1999. So why do I do that? So as a model, I have about 7 university partners in the UK, Australia, Singapore, and the US. And even though I'm able to give my own Philippine degrees, my students have the option to graduate among my 7 partner universities. And why do I do that? On a twinning program, which is the technical term, meaning 2 years in the Philippines and 2 years in my partner universities. So why, even though I'm a degree granting institutions, why do I let my students choose where to graduate among my foreign university partners? And the reason is that we as a Philippine institution do not have all of the expertise and resources to provide our students the education they need for the skills of the future. So for example, my partners, like the University of North Carolina, have a degree in biotechnology. I mean, I don't have a degree in biotechnology, and I wouldn't even dare do a degree in biotechnology. My other partners would have a bachelor's degree in data analytics. So again, I would not dare to do that just to have a degree on data analytics, because the fact is we don't have the lecturers and the expertise in the Philippines. So one of my other partners even has a bachelor's degree in entertainment technology. That's under the state of Pennsylvania, Millersville University of Pennsylvania. So again, these are not degrees that
Who is your partner for data analytics, Mr. Santos?
almost all of my partner universities, their
Also
business, all of them would have a business administration major in data analytics.
I
All
see.
of them.
Ano
So
yung sa
it's like,
Pennsylvania? Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with what you said.
University of Pennsylvania, Millersville University of Pennsylvania, bachelor's degree in entertainment technology.
Entertainment technology. Okay.
So, those, for example, are critical for our creative economy, right? As we digitize our creative industry. So, those kinds of what I call new skills for the workforce of future are not some things we can teach now. So that is the reason why I have